Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 12 of The Agency Way, a Room 214 weekly blab series to help marketers learn from subject matter experts within a marketing agency, in addition to guest thought leaders in business and marketing worldwide. Room 214's Erica Stutzman is my co-host. Signed on here is The Agency Way. I'm Jason Cormier, the co-founder of Room 214, a digital and social media marketing agency. We're also super pleased today to have our guest, which is Gabe Villamizar, who is in charge of social selling at HireVue, which specializes in what it calls as talent interaction platform. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Gabe is currently training and coaching HireVue sales reps on social selling strategies and best practices after years of experience in social selling and B2B demand generation. So Gabe, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, it's an honor. Hey guys, it's an honor to be here. I'm ready to do this. So let's get going.
Nice. All right, cool. Well, first of all, a couple things for viewers who aren't familiar with HireVue, and that's HireVue, and we'll put it up in the chat there.
All right.
Seems like a very human-centered approach to using technology for recruitment. I'd first like you to explain to us a little bit about the marriage between tech and HR with this platform, and then perhaps even more importantly, in terms of the interest of our audience, I'd like you to touch on the concept of social selling. Like, what would you say that is, and how do you make it work?
Yeah, great. So just, again, thanks for having me here. Thanks for anybody listening live or on demand, whichever the case may be. Like you said, I'm the social selling director here at HireVue. We've been around for about 10 years. And just how many of you are either listening or hopefully watching the video, it's far more pleasing, and you get so much more data from a video compared to a cover letter, compared to a resume. Resume really just tests your ability on how well can you write, or you can even hire somebody on Fiverr.com to write your resume, right? You can even hire your best friend who's an English major to write your resume. But that doesn't really portray, we believe that a resume doesn't portray someone's story. We really believe that video has the power to unlock human potential and the potential that they can achieve at the workforce. So it started out as a product for video recruiting, for hiring top talent. So people say, well, what's the difference between you guys and Skype? Well, the difference is we are an on-demand video platform. So let's say we found out that a lot of people who actually are currently happy with their jobs and they might be exploring for jobs, they like to take video interviews after 7 p.m. at the comfort of their own home. So we created technology on-demand video interviewing, which the recruiter, let's just say for JP Chase, one of our clients, sends either can publish a link on Twitter or Facebook, and anybody that clicks on that link on the mobile app or desktop can take the interview, and they just record themselves. That could be a coding challenge interview along with a video interview, pre-record session, and as soon as that video is done, it gets sent to the recruiter. Then the recruiter can get a sense of who that person is like, what their story is, what do they sound like, what do they look like, are they up with technology, did they have a hard time taking the interview, yes or no, right? So that was the core product up until like 8 years ago, I would say. And now we just launched video communication platform. We kind of rebranded our whole, we're not just recruiting and talent only. We are a team acceleration platform. So we help you not just hire the top talent through video, we help you also onboard, coach, and train that talent to get the most out of them. So we use the same video technology with predictive analytics to train and coach your sales reps, to train and coach and onboard anybody, to help create a benchmark and then really improve people's effectiveness and productivity in the workforce.
Very cool.
And
any questions?
Yeah. So with, so by the way, yeah, thanks. Cause that's a good understanding of the platform. And it actually really helps me to hear you tell it like that. Cause, obviously I spent some time on the website and I'm, getting my bearings around it and what the, advantages are. So when you talk about, social selling, I guess what I'm curious about is, are you distinguishing social selling as, let's just say, with its own set of best practices, or are you referring to social selling as what the platform enables for people?
Right. So moving on from the HireVue topic, right, just more into social selling. Let me tell you more about my story. I think this might help listeners understand how I got to where I am right now and the passion that I have for social selling. So I graduated from UVU about 4 years ago, Utah Valley University, based at 30, 45 minutes from Salt Lake City, Utah. And I graduated with a degree in marketing, and I joined a SaaS company, a software, the SaaS tech space here in Utah is blowing up. Everybody and their mom has a software tech startup, and there's a bunch of unicorns that, they have $1 billion valuation here. So it's a good place to have billion. It's a good place to be at. Like every other billboard, it's like we're hiring billboard on the freeway. And we have one of the lowest unemployment rates in the country in Utah. Having said that, I joined InsideSales.com. They're considered a unicorn, if that means anything to anybody. So I joined them as an SDR. That means it's a fancy acronym: Sales Development Rep, Account Development Manager, BDR. It's just a fancy name of saying you set appointments for people, whether it's cold or warm leads. So, and I was in charge of making $80 a day. And
that's a lot.
And emailing a bunch of people. It does sound like a lot, but InsideSales.com's communication technology allows you to do that very effectively. But it's still a lot, right? I'm like, did I go to college to dial 80 times a day? Are you kidding me? So I graduated. I'm gonna try to get my foot in the door, be a sales rep. I've done sales prior to joining Inside Sales for about 5 years, while putting myself through college. And as I had a passion for social media. I grew up with social media. I'm a millennial. And then I thought to myself, well, I realized that my buyer is on social media. My buyer, people who are prospects of InsideSales.com, are spending a lot of time on Twitter and spending a lot of time on LinkedIn. And I thought everybody else was doing this. I'm like, oh, my buyer's on social media? Then what if I create a social media profile that talks to the buyer instead of the recruiter? LinkedIn profiles are usually geared and tailored towards a recruiter, because that was their initial product. But now they've launched so many other products, and the platform, LinkedIn, for example, has evolved into many different uses. So then for 3 months, I killed my numbers. I was in the top 5 reps consecutively for 3 months. And the president of InsideSales.com pulled me aside and said, Gabe, man, what are you doing? And I said, I'm just using traditional selling with new age social selling, infusing the best, and just getting a hold of my buyer, building relationships, engaging the right way in a non-creepy way. And that's kind of how I started. Then a lot of people started asking me for consulting. HireVue was going to be one of my clients. And long story short, I caught the vision of HireVue, and I'm like, dang, these guys are definitely going somewhere. They're backed up by Sequoia, TCV, same people invested in Spotify and a bunch of other big names, Netflix and stuff like that. So I came on board, and I've been here for almost 2 years. And my main responsibility is to, like you said, train and coach our 66 of our sales reps on how they can embed social selling or social media. What's funny is that social selling is just a stupid term of just saying selling. It's just really selling. Wherever your buyer is, that's where you want to be. And it should be common sense, but it's not so much common sense, because I thought everybody knew this, and that's kind of how I kind of carved a niche. I'm like, oh, whoa, a lot of people don't know this. And I've been able to connect the dots. I'm not smarter than anybody else listening to this or any of you guys. I've just been able to connect the dots because I have a knowledge of marketing, business, and social media, and sales. So yeah, that's kind of what it is. So it's just using social media to close more deals. That's really what social selling is.
Sure. So Eric, I know you've got a question, but excuse me. I think about kind of what we do to help companies sell, and in the B2B space specifically. And of course, a lot of where our brains go on the agency side is how are you enabling salespeople to drive people to content that's highly relevant to the buyer. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just curious, your experience and how you're interacting with, let's say social profiles. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of curious about what percentage of your time is focused on, I guess, the day-to-day interaction or specific tactics inside of social networks versus the creation or discussions about content that needs to be created to support what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Man, that's a great question. And I have a few ways I can answer this. But number one, even though I'm the social selling trainer and coach, I'm still in the trenches with our sales reps. I'm demoing stuff with them. I'm getting on phone calls with them. I'm sit by them actually, and my marketing team hates me for that because they can never find me. That's another conversation. I think that marketing and sales should sit together and camp and live together. If you want marketers to learn how to create content to sales reps that's relevant, do that, right? But the first question was, remind me again. So
so I'm trying to figure out, I'm trying to gauge like what percentage of your time.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So there's two answers to that. So as a coach and a trainer, I spend 80% of my time on one-on-one meetings. Training is good, but the key here is you want to treat each team as a separate entity. My SMB, mid-market, and enterprise sales reps have different goals, have different targets, have different needs, have different pain points. So, for example, for me, I have to actually, I spend, I would say 80% of my day or 70% of my day as a trainer and coach, not just training them, because there's a lot of statistics and data that say 80% of training is forgotten within the first 30 days. So I have to reinforce it with coaching, hand-holding them and saying, okay, let's do this together. Telling them is not enough. Let me show you a few wins, and they get excited, the sales reps that is, and then they continue on. Now, that's from a coaching and training point of view. Now, as a sales rep, a full-time sales rep who has a quota that they have to achieve every month or quarter, then I would say, and I can confidently say this, the top 5 sales reps of HireVue are social sellers, and I would say they spend 70 to 80% of their day on social media. And there isn't a magic formula. Hey, spend 20 minutes a day at the beginning of your day, and then you're going to be a social selling pro. Everybody's in different stages. The workforce is so diverse. There's baby boomers, Gen X, millennials, tweens, Gen Ys, and Gen Z, whatever. I don't even know what Gen Z is, to be honest, but there's so much stuff that everybody learns different. And some sales reps don't adopt social selling, and they're not doing so good. Some sales reps don't adopt it, and they're still doing good. But you want to do what's different. So I would say there's sales reps all over. I mean, out of all of our 66 sales reps, like I mentioned earlier, I want to go back to this. Our top sales reps spend the majority of their day creating conversations online and taking this conversation online, offline, via phone or via email.
Mm-hmm. Would you say that the percentage is higher for your particular company in terms of social selling because the platform is based on talent acquisition and recruitment? Or do you think that regardless of whatever B2B thing you'd be selling, that the percentage of, would be that high of sales reps who would use social selling?
I don't know, to be honest. I mean, I hope that I know our platform helps us find people who are, let's just say, tech savvy, because we're able to create a benchmark and say, anybody that interviews like this candidate, move them on to the next round for a physical face-to-face interview. We're able to analyze over 15,000 attributes through voice and through body language. So that way we've been able to hire good people, right? Now, having said that, I don't want to say, hey, millennials social sell better than non-millennials. Like, I don't have that data yet. Because what happens is there's a contrast. If millennials grew up with social media, they think they know social media, but they don't have the application for business, right? Whereas here's this, Gen X or baby boomer, right? Let's say a category from like 40 to 60, and they don't want to stay behind. They still want to kill their numbers. So they're going to do everything they can to learn. And if they're in a tech software startup, you think they like change, right? They adopt technology. So they're also willing to change as much, so these young guys don't beat them, and so they stay ahead of the curve and ahead of the game. So that's that. And then the other second portion of the first question you asked was, what was it? I forget.
I was curious about how much time you focus
on content.
Yeah.
Right, and that's a great question, because I'm about to roll out a content creation program for our sales reps. I mean, I've written, I think, 9 LinkedIn publishing posts. Everybody has the ability to publish LinkedIn blog posts on your LinkedIn profile. And the beauty of doing that, if anybody listening out there, of why should you do that versus your own blog or whatever? Well, first of all, I think you should have your first and last name.com. That's obvious. If you're in it to win it long run, that's how really you should choose your baby's names. If they're available, you should really name them that. They're gonna thank you for that 30 years, 20 years from now. Not just that, but what you want to do is have your sales reps write a piece of content. I've written 9 articles and I've gotten over 20,000 views. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I haven't done that much heavy promotion, but because the way LinkedIn's platform is built, all your connections get a notification saying so-and-so wrote an article, right? And you get a lot of those notifications per day because there's been majority adoption. But what I'm going to try to do is have all of our sales reps not write sales content related about HireVue, industry-related content, and see what happens. Because so far, content, right, we've measured that it takes about 3 content value touches for a person to trust you. For our buyer to trust that they want to do business with us, our sales rep needs to at least share 3 pieces of content. And we've been able to track that in a very effective manner. So it would be cool if all of our 66 sales reps create their own content. Now, yes, in marketing, we create content for them. We have case studies, we have webinars, we have videos, we have one-sheets, we have one-pagers, and that's great, right? But it's different if you're talking to somebody on the phone and you say, oh yeah, I wrote a piece of content about that. And a lot of VPs of sales and a lot of sales professionals and leadership are against that. They're like, dude, I hired you to freaking close deals. I hired you not to be on social media, okay? I hired you not to write content. We have a freaking English major writer for that. I want you to close deals. And if you're not closing deals, you're fired. Well, I think there's going to be a major shift in the way sales leaders think. And if they don't evolve, then it's going to hurt them financially. I strongly believe that sales reps need to be writing their content at least 1 piece of content per month. I mean, that's nothing. If I can do it, English is my second language. I mean, any American dude can do it, right?
How long should the content be?
300 or 600 words.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I would say have your marketing team revise it. Have your marketing team include call to actions indirectly, not just, I'm writing a content about our webinar that's next week. Okay, everybody does that. You're not going to be standing out. Add value, stay visible, and revenue will come. So my friend Jack Kazakowski, says those 2 things a lot. Adding value, the 2 V's, right? Value and visibility. Sometimes you can be visible, but if you don't have value, you still suck. So it's very crucial to have both V's, and visibility and value, go hand in hand when writing content, when social selling, when doing anything online.
Erica, let's make sure we have that bullet point in our blog post that summarizes this. If you don't add value, you suck.
There you go.
Straight from the lips of Gabe. All right. I like it. Well, here's the thing, Gabe. I love what you're saying. And it's, I think it's very inspiring because what you're talking about is very specific. This isn't like vague theoretical stuff. To me, this is like really where the rubber meets the road. And everybody, to some extent, is responsible for sales. At least that's my business philosophy, right? So anyway, I've hogged the time. So Erica, I'm going to give you a chance now to ask some questions as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really easy one because what I love that you said the most to me is that you said social selling isn't social selling, it's just selling, right? It's where we all are right now. So it's selling to where the people are, which is old selling was doing the exact same thing, right? So if we look at social trends right now, though, what are some of the emerging trends that you see in the future that sort of every corporation who sort of needs to stay on top of this could take advantage of?
So I believe we haven't crossed the chasm, as Jeffrey Moore says. And for those of you who don't know what that is, I can hear my echo. That's weird. I'll just keep going. For those of you who don't know what crossing the chasm means, that the majority of, let's just say, of the world haven't adopted social selling. And my expertise and knowledge resides in the B2B space, and I can easily say in the B2B space, social selling hasn't been major adopted. So there's still a lot of room for growth. Whoever literally adopts and takes a deep dive in social selling, it's gonna be you're gonna be one step ahead of your competition. And I hope that you're the one who does that before your competitor does. So there's still tons of room for growth. There's still a lot of people who are doing social selling wrong. As soon as they connect with you on LinkedIn, they pitch you their product, or they direct message you about, hey, let's connect on Facebook. I want to talk to you about my freelance job. You're like, what the heck? Who are you? I just met you. I don't even know who you are. I'm going to block you. And then bam, that's done. But what's going to happen is I believe in 2016 and 2017, for example, there's going to be a massive adoption of social selling. And a lot of people are going to need coaching and trainers in order to do it successfully. Otherwise, social selling is going to get ruined by a bunch of people who are like, oh, social selling is just selling, but on social. It's not really that simple. I believe that also, like, going back to content, your sales reps are going to have to stand out They're going to become these mini marketers of themselves. They're not going to rely so much on marketing. In B2B space, I read a research that says 80% of the leads should be self-sourced by their sales rep, and 20% should come from marketing on average in the B2B SaaS space. And that's great. So what do you do with the 80% of the time of self-sourced leads that sales reps have to come up with them for themselves? Social selling plays an integral part in that, and the same as content creation. So if you're a sales rep, right, learn how to write content, learn how to add value, learn how to social sell, and then learn how to develop your personal brand. Those three things, social selling, content, and personal branding, is what's going to dominate the industry in the next 3 to 5 years. If I Google you and I can't find you, I'm not going to do business with you. If I try to find you and some dude in Mexico or Yugoslavia or Ghana shows up instead of you, then that tells me that you don't care much about your brand. People like to do business with people, not brands, right? And if I don't know you, don't like you, or don't trust you, I'm not going to do business with you. So those three things, content, and I can't emphasize more on that, but content creation, personal branding, and social selling, it's truly what's going to make a difference. And it's so easy just saying it right now. I'm just telling you guys, and it's like, oh, cool, that makes sense. But only like 0.001% of people listening to this show are going to do it. Mm-hmm. And people are like, Gabe, how did you do this? I mean, 2-3 years ago, I wasn't very well known in the B2B space. And now people are like, dude, Gabe, how did you do it? And I'm like, guys, it's so simple. Like, it's so common sense. But for some reason, it's not common sense. And I'm glad I get to help out people. And people like you guys have an awesome show that just educates people. So, yeah.
Well, so a couple, there's so many things going through my brain right now, but I'm also thinking about what's going to be really useful for people. So in my own experience, LinkedIn, somebody connects with me on LinkedIn, mm-hmm. and this goes, by the way, this is related to what you're talking about with publishing a blog on LinkedIn, right? Mm-hmm. So the cool thing you said, you publish a blog on LinkedIn, then, all the people that are connected with you get a little notification. That's great. What about people that message me on LinkedIn after I'm connected with them? Sometimes it's like 3 or 4 paragraphs of mm-hmm. long-winded stuff, a link, they're kind of selling themselves. But I'm curious if you have a best practice in mm-hmm. terms of even using that approach. And then second, if you are using that approach, is it a certain shortness of paragraphs or just a few sentences with a link, or any
so the question is, what's the best way to approach after you connected with somebody?
Mm-hmm. Thanks for consolidating that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the best way to do that, Steve Richard, a good friend of mine, kind of created this 3x3 social strategy, and I've added some social spin to it. So I call it the 3x3 social outreach strategy. Find 3 things about your buyer in 3 minutes or less. And those 3 things, if you really want to get their attention, are going to be about their personal life, about their business, and about their industry. Okay. So for example, let's say I want to sell something to you, right? I would say, let's say I want to sell something to John Doe. Hey, John, notice that you watched the Utah Jazz game yesterday. Tough loss, right? Great. Hey, notice that we're in the same industry and we probably are going through the same points as company such and such, which we've helped. Thought I'd share this 2-minute video about XYZ, right? Not a product pitch, but again, I'm talking about this. I'm talking the same language. I'm talking the same things that they recognize. And I'm not saying, hey, you want to watch a 30-minute demo about my product that you've never heard about? Okay. You want to educate. HubSpot did another research that I read a few months ago. It says it takes about 3 value for someone to really open up and trust you. You need to add 3 value touches of trust before you go for the kill. So we try to do that within a 48-hour period of time, because what's cool about this, honestly, and I want to deep dive a little bit more into this, is that with traditional prospecting, such as email, phone, mail, or sending a pizza at somebody's office, or faxing, right? You can only do so much. So on average, it takes us here at HireVue 22 touch points to get a demo appointment. So our sales reps we found out that we need to touch the buyer 22 times. Okay, that's a combination of traditional prospecting and social selling prospecting. Out of those 22 touches, 13 or 15 of those are through social media. And it's awesome that you can do this because it's super indirect in an indirect way. If I were to tell you, hey, do 22 touch points in 48 hours, you would push and drive your customer or prospect mad. Like, who's this person that's calling me 10 times a day? Maybe you have that person right now and you ignore him. Who's this person who's emailing me? That's not possible. Well, with social media, if I can follow my buyer, then retweet a tweet, then I follow them on LinkedIn. Believe it or not, you can follow people on LinkedIn without connecting. That's touch points. Then I send them an email. Then I share a blog post. You already have 7 touch points in an hour. So it's technology's made it so easy for us to create touch points. And that kind of brings up a point of tracking. How have we been able to see that it takes 22 touch points for a demo set? Because our sales reps have trained them, right, and coached them that they have to track every activity in their CRM. Now, having said that, then you can create a predictive social selling model where you can say, okay, if we want to hit our number this quarter or this year or this month, let's say for this week, if you want to have 5 appointments, then you're going to have to do 22 times 5. And that's how many activities you need to do in order to predict to hit our number this year or this month. So I think it's crucial to have a mix of both traditional and social selling. I'm not against cold calling. I'm not against cold emailing. They're effective to a certain degree. But with so much social data out there, we can make smarter decisions about the buyer. And there's so much information publicly, whether you like it or not. There's no such thing as privacy anymore, I believe. Maybe there's security, but there's not privacy. I mean, and I hate when some sales reps try to sell me stuff and their email literally is like this: "Hey Gabe, notice that you're the social selling director at HireVue." Well, no shiz. That's everywhere. Are you kidding me? That's your opening line. I thought since you're in the software space and you like social media, I thought you might be interested in our software. When's a good time for a 30-minute demo? And I literally replied to all those guys, and I take the time to reply and be like, "Hey, dude, you should give me an introduction to your boss because I can teach you how to do this in a way effective manner. Did you know that all my information is publicly available, and I tweet and leave so many digital footprints and digital breadcrumbs available for you to like create a custom message that gets my attention? It's sad that I'm still writing you back, but I want to help you out." I'm serious. I'm not joking.
Awesome.
I really say that. I called out somebody on LinkedIn like an hour ago. I said, "Did you copy and paste the same message?" And it was like a paragraph long. It's just like what you were talking about. It's like, who's going to read a whole paragraph long about their business, about me, and my business 24/7? So that's why it's important to like keep it short, do the 3x3 social, add value, and then go for the kill.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I love about sales is certainly it is a numbers game. And so for you to sit here confidently and tell us, look, on average, we see that it's 22 touch points, which is going to create a real opportunity. I think that's it's going to be music to a lot of people's ears.
And it's going to be different for it. So just find out how many touch points does it take to close a deal? How many touch points does it take to set an appointment? Over what period of time? And I'm telling you, for HireVue, it's 22 touch points. It's not going to be the same for any organization or industry. But the beauty of this is that you have the power to test, do A/B testing and find out. And you have to be disciplined, but it's the most beautiful thing ever when you can predict your outcomes, right? You can predict your inputs. You can't really predict outputs, but you can predict inputs. And then based on inputs, I can say, okay, this rocks,
Yeah. And to your point, 22 specific to HireVue. It's going to be different for other businesses, but if they're approaching their business in a way where they're trying to figure out what is that equation, now there's a range of other things you can forecast. Number of hires you need, what's an acceptable cost per acquisition related to a hire. I mean, the list goes on, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So fascinating. That's awesome. Erica, you have any other questions?
Oh gosh, we've gone all over the place. Yeah, just one actually. So you've got 2 audiences that you're talking to. You've got your internal customer who you're training to do this sort of selling. But then you also have the large corporations out there that you're thinking about all the time, right? The people that you actually want to sell to. How do you tailor your mess as a coach? How do you sort of tailor your approach to those 2 different audiences?
Well, by listening correctly. by listening is really how you determine all that. So we've been doing, we're actually rolling out account-based marketing tactic. I think that's a big buzzword right now. I went to a conference in San Francisco 2 weeks ago, and then one of my colleagues went to another conference in the East Coast. And what's funny, one of them was a sales conference, the other one was a marketing conference, and they were both talking about account-based marketing. So it's already a buzzword. It's already gonna, I think, just like social selling is a buzzword as well, it's gonna be integrated and rolled out throughout the whole states at least, or worldwide. But by doing account, for example, for the bigger targets, we're gonna roll out account-based marketing. So to give you an idea, just straight up tell you what we're doing is, for each of our strategic sales reps, we're finding out what are the top 5 accounts as a test that you want to close this year. So all of our strategic reps, which are the Fortune 500 people who close deals on that sector, are giving me 5 of their accounts. Then for each 5 of those accounts, I'm having them on, then marketing goes in and we identify 6 people per account for each of those 5 accounts. Who are the 6 people that are more likely going to buy our product based on a bunch of tools that I have and research that I've done. Then after I find those 6 people, I learn everything about those people, like super stalker status, and it works. And then based on that, we create content to those people, landing pages to those people, and hopefully they'll engage on that. They'll go to the landing page. Then we turn off remarketing, retargeting, and then we go for the kill and do a demo. We email them or ask them for the demo based on certain trigger events. So that's how we're about to roll out account-based marketing in the social selling with traditional marketing and sales point of view. Once they watch a demo, then we just hand that off to the salesperson. And the salesperson won't have to do much social selling except, let's say it takes 6 months to close a deal. What that salesperson does is very crucial, right? Marketing gave you the deal, pretty much spoon-fed you the deal. Then, okay, so let's say you talk with them, you give them a demo, and then the next touch point is going to be 3 weeks from now. Well, what are you going to do from now until 3 weeks? Are you going to call them, email them? Probably they're super busy. They're the decision maker for Pepsi company. So then you might as well educate them, feed them content, or retweet them, or reshare this stuff, or promote their company blog or whatever, and tag them. Know that you're an advocate. Know that you want what's best for the business. So that's kind of how we're about to roll out the social selling for that. And for SMBs and mid-market, we're letting our sales reps really get in the nitty-gritty of doing social selling themselves. Just doing this. And I have 6-step social selling process. That number 1 is social selling intro. And number 2, number 1 is your sales reps need to know what is social selling, where it's at, and where it's going. Number 2, social optimization, optimize your profiles to your buyers. Number 3 then is engagement. Number 3 is listening for your buyers. Number 4 is engagement. Number 5 is commitment. You get no action if you're in the social selling friend zone. And then number 6 is commitment and tracking. So if a sales rep follow those 6 steps that I just mentioned, if you remember them, then they're going to have a lot of success when social selling.
Mm-hmm. I know that I actually reviewed, I think, one of your SlideShare presentations maybe about 6 months ago. And some of the stuff you mentioned, I saw in there, which is great.
Cool.
I am curious about just from a tools perspective. You give us a quick lowdown. Is it Marketo? Is it, tell us what's up.
Man, I love tools. That's really what makes our job so much easier. And it's, how do I know these tools? I have no idea. Like, some of these tools are so obscure that you're like, people ask me all the time, hi Gabe, how did you find out? Like, I think the company followed me, or I followed them, and the email, like, I'm passionately curious about being the first one to try a tool out. And then, for example, I just did a 360 camera yesterday. And obviously I'm not the first one to do this, but nobody in the B2B space is doing 360 video footage. And I'm like, cool, wouldn't it be cool if we were the first ones to do a lot of content, even webinars with a 360 camera? Anyway, so few tools. I have a ton. But I recommend that you, number 1, are Salesforce, that for a CRM database. Number 2, for marketing automation, I love HubSpot. Big fan of HubSpot. Going to their conference this year. They make it so. Are you going to be there too? Great. Yeah, let's meet up for sure. We have our team going there. We spend a lot of money with them. HubSpot, and then on top of that, I like to use TweetDeck, which is free. They're owned by Twitter for listening on Twitter. And I could talk about that for hours. I love TweetDeck. You can also use Hootsuite, which is the same thing. It's a little bit, it's not just focused on Twitter, but it's focused on other channels as well. You can also use Rifle by CrowdRiff for ultimate social Twitter stalking. I can find who you talk with the most, which hashtags you use the most, what platform do you share tweets from? Is it an Android? Is it an iPhone? Is it a desktop? Is it Hootsuite? I can find out how many tweets you do per day, what days of the week you tweet the most. And based on all that data, then I craft my outreach. If I see that you tweet a lot on Sunday nights and I want to get your attention, I'm not going to tweet at you on a Tuesday morning because the data is telling me that's wrong. It's a Google Chrome extension. It's free as well. I like Charlie app. I like Crystal Knows. I like
Crystal Knows.
Yeah, that's an awesome one. My ultimate favorite one that I think it's going to blow up and it's going to get acquired by LinkedIn hands down. And anybody who's listening to this and they mark my words, today's March 17th. It's called Nova.ai, artificial intelligence. What it does is you upload an email list, and then in that email list, you can say, once Nova crawls all the email addresses you uploaded, it then tells you, it personalizes the outreach based on the social data that's publicly available. So then if I was tweeting about golf or something, and it'll take that into consideration, it'll take everything in my LinkedIn profile in consideration, and it'll literally craft the email, like the opening 3 sentences, tailored and customized to that person. I mean, how cool is that? Then you don't have to do the listening yourself. The artificial intelligence software they created does it for you, and it's pretty dang accurate. Like, it's accurate. For example, like it says, hey, notice that you and I are both connected to so and so and so, and that you have these interests. Or notice that you guys won this achievement last year for best company to work for. Like, and you can customize to choose what kind of customization you want. You want a professional, you want a funny, you want entertaining. Like, it's so accurate. I met with those guys about 3 weeks ago in San Francisco. It's Nova.ai. It's an MIT graduate and a Harvard. I mean, are you kidding me? Like, who wouldn't buy their stuff?
I have to say, I'm so excited to check this out because every time something is targeted towards me, it is so far off. Like, that is not even close to who you think I am, but okay.
Yeah, so those are a few of my favorite tools. Buffer app. I like that one a lot. Obviously, Facebook, native analytics, and LinkedIn. And I'm a huge fan of Gaggle app for employee advocacy. So our sales reps love being on social, but they're like, yeah, but I don't have time to be on social because they don't get it sometimes, even though we have a high 90+% adoption of social selling. But they want to be sharing content. They just want us to spoon feed them the content. So we have 100 licenses for Gaggle amp, and I'm speaking at the conference later this year.
That's huge awesome.
Huge fan of Gaggle amp. What's that?
Gaggle amp was our first guest on our our very first Blab show. The CEO was our guest.
Oh, I've never met him, but I did my research for all the employee advocacy tools out there, and Gaggle is by far the best. You can do SlideShare actions. You can do YouTube, Pinterest, Twitter, LinkedIn. Like, you kidding me? Like, anybody's not using that, they're stupid. I don't know.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, Gabe, we've gone way over today, but it's all good, man.
For sure. It's been fun.
Thanks so much for joining us. Erica, to close us out, I'd love you to do the final 3.
Absolutely. Okay, so I have a book recommendation that I really love, and it's a business book that can help, but it can help everybody. It's called The End of Average. And it is by Todd Rose. It's How We Succeed in a World That Values Sameness. And it's really about this emerging science of individuality and about reaching your potential, but also about just the science that there is no average. Like, measuring yourself against the average is the wrong way to be thinking about everything, from your business to your analytics to even your children and how they're performing in school. So I thought it was really cool. This is Colorado Nonprofit Week, and so I wanted to shout out to BCAP, which is the Boulder County AIDS Project. They do a lot of really cool stuff. My family is a personal financial supporter of them. One of the things that they do in particular is free and confidential HIV testing, and I just love them. And then I have a quote of the week, which is from Bertrand Russell, who's a British philosopher, and it's, in all affairs, it's a healthy thing to now and again hang a question mark on all the things you have long taken for granted.
Nice. All right. Well, hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. As a reminder, you can follow us on Twitter at room_214. You can also subscribe to our email newsletter by going to room214.com/blog. Please message Erica on Twitter. She's right there as the Agency Way if you'd like to be a guest on our show. Our weekly series continues every Thursday at 11:30 a.m. Mountain Time. On behalf of everyone at Room 214, thank you for another
Can I tell one more
episode.
thing?
Yeah, go for it, man.
I forgot to say this. So if you want to learn more about social selling, I'm launching a course, an online video course at the end of the month. It's called Embed Social Selling, EMBED, socialselling.com. I'm sharing the link right here. But I pretty much deep dive into the how-to via screen share and other fancy videos on social selling. So if anybody wants to join that course, it's on demand. So that's
awesome.
My plug.
Thank you for mentioning it, because I'll be all over that. That's great. Awesome. Okay. Hey, thanks everybody.
Thanks for having me on board. Okay. See you.
Bye.